Welcome to Shadow Tales Teller, where darkness whispers the secrets you were never meant to hear. Tonight, a winter nightmare. I never believed in trusting my instincts, a fatal flaw that almost cost me my life on a cold night. I was driving home late one winter evening, taking a winding mountain road I had driven dozens of times before. The weather report had promised only light snow, a minor inconvenience that I foolishly decided to ignore that fateful evening. They were wrong. Within 20 minutes, the gentle flurry transformed into a blinding white wall, erasing the road completely. The asphalt vanished beneath a thick layer of ice, and my headlights reflected nothing but swirling flakes and endless white. By the time my car slid sideways and the engine died completely, the storm had already trapped me in silence. I sat there in the freezing quiet, checking my phone desperately, but the screen showed absolutely no signal or service. There were no other cars on the road, just the wind screaming through the trees like a wounded animal dying. That was when I saw the cabin, a single light glowing through the storm, barely visible between the tall pines. I had no choice but to leave. I grabbed my bag and followed the light, snow soaking through my boots. Every step was a struggle against the elements, the cold biting my skin as I approached the isolated wooden structure. When I finally reached the porch and knocked, the heavy timber door opened almost immediately, as if I was expected. A man stood there, tall and quiet, far too calm for someone living this far out in the wilderness, alone. He looked at me and spoke softly, saying the storm was bad and that I could wait it out here. I hesitated because something about his eyes felt empty, like he was looking right through me instead of at me. But the wind howled mercilessly behind me, giving me no other option, so I stepped inside and closed the door. The cabin was warm but not comfortable. The fire burned low, casting long, flickering shadows across the bare wooden walls. There were no decorations anywhere, just a table, 2 chairs, and a single hallway leading deeper into the dark cabin. He told me his name was Daniel. I told him mine, and he simply nodded without offering a handshake. He turned and stared into the fire without another word, leaving us in a silence that felt heavy and wrong. Minutes passed in silence. Every time I shifted in my chair, the old floorboards creaked loudly beneath my weight. But when he moved across the room, it made no sound at all, as if he hovered above the floor. Eventually, I asked how long he had lived out here, hoping to start a conversation and ease my growing nerves. He replied simply, "All winter." Something about that answer bothered me deeply. Not years, just specifically all this winter. It felt strange. Not since summer, not for years, just all winter. As the storm worsened, I started noticing things. There was only one set of boots by the door, implying he lived completely alone in this desolate, frozen place. There was only one mug on the shelf, and only one plate, already dirty, sitting on the small table. I asked if he got many visitors. He smiled, an expression that didn't reach his eyes, and looked at me. He said, "No one ever leaves once the roads close." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. I laughed nervously, assuming it was a joke. He didn't laugh back. He just stared until I looked away. That night, the storm cut the power. The cabin plunged into darkness except for the dying embers of the fire. Daniel handed me a blanket and told me I could sleep on the couch while he went to his room. He said he would be down the hall. I watched him disappear into the darkness, swallowed by the shadows completely. The moment he was gone, the cabin felt smaller. The air grew heavy, and I felt exposed in the room. The wind battered the walls relentlessly. I lay awake, listening, counting the seconds between the gusts of the storm. That is when I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, careful, distinctly moving across the wooden floorboards near where I lay. They were not coming from the hallway where Daniel had gone. They were coming from inside the room with me. I held my breath. The footsteps stopped right beside the couch. Someone was standing directly over me in the dark. I kept my eyes shut, every nerve screaming at me not to move, praying that whatever it was would leave. Then I felt it. Warm breath, close to my ear. Not breathing hard, just breathing steadily, waiting for a reaction. It was just waiting. I don't remember falling asleep. I only remember the terror fading into a black unconsciousness. Morning light filtered through the windows. The storm had passed. Everything was quiet. Too quiet for a house with people. I sat up quickly. The cabin was empty. No fire in the grate. No Daniel anywhere to be seen. No boots by the door. Just one thing remained that froze the blood in my veins as I looked down. On the wooden floor, beside the couch where I slept, were two distinct sets of dusty footprints visible in the light. One set led toward the hallway. Those belonged to me from the night before. But there was another set. The other set stopped inches from where my head had been. Someone had stood there, watching me sleep all night. I left the cabin immediately, running into the snow, and followed the road until I finally found a rescue team. The authorities went back with me later to thank the man, but what we found defied all logic and reason. They never found the cabin. No foundation, no ashes, no tracks. Just untouched snow where the house had stood. To this day, when winter storms roll in and roads begin to close, I think about what Daniel said to me. He said, "No one ever leaves once the roads close." And as I sit here safe, I start to wonder. I wonder if I really did leave that cabin, or if part of me is still frozen there with him. Some mistakes you survive, and some mistakes you only think you survived. Trust your instincts before the cold takes you. Thank you for watching Shadow Tales Teller. If you survived this story, subscribe now, or the next storm might find you. We explore the darkest corners of the human mind and the supernatural. Join our community for more spine-chilling tales. Every shadow holds a story, and every whisper in the dark is a warning waiting to be heard by you. Do not let the silence fool you. The most terrifying things in this world are often the ones that make no sound. Nature is indifferent to your survival. It watches, it waits, and sometimes it keeps what wanders into its domain. Remember the story of the stranger in the snow? Let it be a lesson to always turn back while you can. If you see a light in the woods when you are lost, think twice before you walk towards its warmth. Time behaves differently when you are afraid. Seconds stretch into hours, and a single night can last for an eternity. The warmth of a fire can be comforting, but it can also blind you to the cold truth standing behind you. We are never truly alone. There is always something watching, waiting for the moment we let our guard down completely. The sound of footsteps in an empty house is the mind trying to make sense of the presence it feels. The line between the living and the dead is thinner than you think, especially in the dead of winter night. Stories are how we warn each other. They are the maps of survival passed down from those who saw the darkness. Did Daniel exist? Or was he a manifestation of the freezing cold, a hallucination of a dying mind? Perhaps the cabin was never there. Perhaps the rescue came just in time to pull a soul back from the brink. We search for logic in chaos, but some mysteries are designed to remain unsolved, haunting us until our final days. If you enjoyed this tale, share it with a friend. Safety in numbers is a lie, but it feels better. Tune in next time for another journey into the shadows. We have many more stories waiting to be told to you. Sleep well tonight, and check your locks. You never know who might be looking for shelter from the storm. This is Shadow Tales Teller signing off. Remember, The shadows are only scary because they hide the truth. Good night.